And it's a great pleasure to be at the Upwey Tacoma Football Club, one of the Premier Division teams in the new Outer East competition. Magnificent club rooms here as they get ready for an important game against Beaconsfield. They've won 2, they've lost 1. They haven't played any football though for 3 weeks. They were beaten by Narre Warren almost 3 weeks ago, then had the bye, and then of course there was the interleague match last week, so a big match for them this week. My name is Dan Lonigan. It's wonderful to be here, and it's a great pleasure to welcome my co-host, as we do every week, Matt Footy. Welcome, Matt. How'd Bendigo go for you?
Could have been better, could have been worse. Lovely town.
It is a lovely town. We'll talk more about that in just a second. It wasn't a great result. 99-point loss for the Outer East up against Bendigo. David Bell is the playing coach. His first year with Upwey Tacoma. His team's had a couple of weeks off. Welcome, David. Thanks for having us here.
Thanks for having me.
Now, David, I'll start with you before we have a chat to Matt. You've had 3 weeks off. It's not ideal, is it, for a big game against Beaconsfield?
No, it's not, but at least we'll be nice and fresh after the couple of weeks break. Nursed a couple of injuries, that's why we didn't really have any representation during interleague. So a few boys have been able to get on top of them and start training over the last couple of weeks. So we're looking to have all those boys back and ready to go for this weekend.
And mentally, do you think you'll be fresher after Narre Warren gave you a touch-up, which was pretty disappointing for the club, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was disappointing, but at the same time, it was a good lesson, and it shows us what the yardstick is and what we need to get to. So, whilst you can look at it at one hand, it's disappointing. It should be also driving us as a club to get better and to try and match it with these clubs.
Just on that, obviously these clubs that have come from the Cefnor competition came here with big reputations. Are they a bit stronger than you thought they'd be?
I think they're strong. But it's a different style of football that we haven't seen before as well. So you add that to, yes, they're strong and they've got a lot of depth, they're fit and they play their big grounds well. And that's a different style of football that is pretty foreign to us. So that's something that we've just got to work towards and be able to adapt to going forward.
Now, Matt, 5 days ago we were lucky enough to be invited to the jumper presentation for the Outer East Interleague team taking on Bendigo, and I was having a chat to your league vice chairman or deputy chairman Shane Smith. He was thinking about purchasing his new electric car and driving you and the chief Tony Mitchell up on the day. How did that go?
We tossed away the electric car idea. Tony didn't back the electric car to get all the way to Bendigo. So
he was very worried about it, I know that.
Yeah, we went with the old, the whatever Tony drives, but fuel buys suggest diesel. But no, that got us up there. That was the first thing ticked off. Everything went well until the footy and netball started, and then it went downhill from there.
In hindsight, do you think that the team would have been better suited, all teams, netball and football, to have gone up the night before? I mean, I heard you were all making mad dashes at around 6:30, 7 o'clock. I know it's only 2.5 hours to Bendigo with these great freeways nowadays, but do you think the night before it would have been better preparation and you could have bonded a bit better?
Well, I wouldn't have bonded.
The players.
In an ideal world...
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. In an ideal world, Dan, yes, but people have jobs and so forth. It's a different environment. Professional sport, they probably would have gone up on Thursday and had a run around on the Queen Elizabeth, but of course everyone's got jobs and probably most people on a Friday have to go home, some of them probably family and kids, get back there and do other parts of life because footy probably comes second or third.
So what went wrong? I mean, obviously it was a tough day. I saw a few of the scores and you just struggled to score goals. Were they a lot stronger than you thought?
I'd never seen anyone from Bendigo play before, besides a couple that had played AFL before. But probably just too quick, too intense, and probably had a bit more pride in the jumper by the looks of it. There was a bit more of a team feel, I thought, and that can happen. That was probably expected with the merger that people might not be experienced playing with each other.
Now, David, if you had been fit and you weren't purchasing a house, rumours told me you bought a house. Congratulations on that. Scott Morrison should look after you after winning the election. They said it would have been harder if Bill Shorten had have got in, but that's a story for another day. But
busy day.
If you were fit, would have you played and you weren't buying a house?
Yeah, I would have put my hand up for sure. I think Interleague's really good. It's a good opportunity to play at a higher level. I played in it last year in the game from the old Rangers versus the old Cefnor, and it was it was a good game of footy, good to be a part of, and also you just get to know your opposition, I guess, in a different way. And it's been a good experience for me in the past, playing in those, even playing back when I was under 18s as well, in the Yarra Valley, and actually ended up playing again with some of those guys in the senior team last year. So unfortunately for Upwey, we only had the one person make the squad to start with, and then speaking to Ruts after that, pretty much everyone he was sort of after couldn't make it. Either they were overseas, had something on, or were injured. So it was unfortunate we couldn't have anyone play on the day, but it's definitely something that I would like our players to play in.
Tell us about being coach. Has it been harder than you thought it would be, and what makes a good coach, do you think?
It's been, there's a lot of, I guess, you don't realise how much actually goes into the job. So I've had a little bit of experience coaching sort of at school sides and that sort of stuff. And then having been in the role as assistant coach last year, I was able to sort of see how Berkey, our old coach, how much time he had to put into it. So it's hard to find the balance too between, you've got obviously your work and your social life, but then you've got footy, and then trying to find the balance between player and coach as well. It's probably going to take some time to figure out that.
Now, Matt, Upwey are 2-1. How do you reckon they're travelling?
I think I'm pretty well. Probably not under, sorry, wrong word, but less talked about than all the other clubs in the division. Every other club seemed to have something to talk about, whether they were a new club coming to the Yarra Rangers or, an older club that might be struggling or likely to impress. But they've beaten the two teams that they would have liked to and probably thought they were a big chance against. Playing the unknown in Narry, I'll be interested to know what Dave thought, where they can improve and how they can learn from that game, because getting smashed is something that's happened to teams going on the bigger grounds. Where do you think you can really improve when you play on the bigger grounds?
Yeah, I think obviously out of the midfield's one thing they were able to just sort of spread on us, and I guess it's not as noticeable on the smaller decks. You're able to defend a bit easier, and sometimes those players that do creep forward or do sneak out the back, you can get away with it because there's not as much space for them to work in. But then on the big ground, they're in 50 metres of space. And then on the flip side of that as well, when you don't have that pressure that you can get on a small ground and it's not there on a big ground, then they can use their skills and their ball movement out in space, and then you're just chasing us all day.
Well, Dave, thanks so much for joining us. I know you've got to get ready for training. Really appreciate you having us here today. I wish it was... talking of climate change, it's a bit warm today. I wish it was probably June or July and we could have had that magnificent gas heater on. What a magnificent facility that is as part of these wonderful club rooms here at Upwey Tacoma. Good luck this week. Big game against Beaconsfield, who are playing a bit better than their scoreline indicates. 1 win, 3 losses, but an excellent percentage. And we'll be back with more from Upwey Tacoma very shortly on the Outer East Footy Show. Get your GameFace on. Back here at the beautiful Upwey Tacoma Football Club, and the Tigers are 2 wins, 1 loss. They take on Beaconsfield, who have 1 win and 3 defeats so far. A massive game for both clubs in Premier Division of the Outer East competition. Just before we speak to our next special guest from the Upwey Tacoma Football Club, their ruckman Liam Beacom, I just want to ask you, Matt, any injuries other than heartstrings and egos?
No, not that I know of. Yeah, just those first 2 that you mentioned there, Dan, and I'd say they're pretty bruised.
And who was the best player for Outer East in the match against Bendigo?
Cranbourne's Brendan Osborne, far and away. If it wasn't for him, it could have been north of 150 points, I'd suggest. So, yeah.
Thanks for that. We'll obviously see how the Outer East can recover from that when they play the interleague competition next year. But back into
time to think about it, isn't there?
Well,
they're taking it 1 year at a time. So.
1 year at a time, yeah. Exactly right. Exactly. Do you reckon there should be more than one match?
No, I don't want to go to Bendigo again.
Not Bendigo, you'd get to host it.
Would we? Oh, I don't know. Will we play it? There's too much preparation, Dan.
Fair enough, Matt. I know you got a lot on your plate. Now, Liam, you got a lot on your plate as the ruckman of Upwey Tacoma. How are things going so far this year?
It was a good start. First 2 weeks, we were really up and about, and we were looking forward to the challenge of versing Narry. And it turns out they showed us up a bit, but that's all right. We can, get back on the horse and try again against Beaconsfield.
Versing. Now, that's a word that my son uses. He certainly used it when he was 11 and 12 and 13. How long have you been using that word for, Liam?
Probably too long. It's not actually a real word, but most people seem to use it in regards. Yeah.
I know what he meant, Matt. But my son, he used to use it all the time. He said, "Who are they versing, Dad? Versus who? Versus who?" And I think, where'd you get that from? School, Dad. School.
Oh, it's on TV as well. You look in the paper. V.
Yeah, but it's not. But it's not a word I wouldn't have thought. But it's become part of the English language and the football language. So you're versing Beaconsfield this week. What do you know about them as one of the new Sefnal teams into the competition?
To be honest, not a lot. But if they're anything like Narry, we know they're going to play. They want to play on the outside and use the space. But hopefully on our ground we can bolt it up a bit more and get a bit more contested ball and let our defenders defend and forwards play forward and try and beat them one-on-one and, you never know what's going to happen.
And Matt was talking last week about the fact that the Sefnal teams have got the bigger grounds, you guys have got the smaller grounds, and you played a little bit of a, I suppose, match simulation, 12 against 12 at training on Saturday. Do you think that'll help you for this week and when you take on the Sefnal teams on their bigger grounds as the season progresses?
Yeah, we'll just try and anything we can to make our ground bigger and get used to more space on the ground. I think their midfield Narry Warren's midfield kind of showed us up in spreading. We're used to more from a stoppage, kick it straight to the forward line, and let the forwards play forward. Whereas on a bigger ground, there's an extra step. You got to get midfielders got to spread and then use them. So yeah, training's been revolved around creating more space on our ground and. Hopefully we get used to it.
Well, how does your game change? Because we've already heard about the midfielders. They're the obvious ones that they have to probably put in both ways rather than just one-way running, which is what all clubs have found. What about your game as a ruckman? Because Beaconsfield ruckman, off the top of my head, was Welsh in their win over Berwick, and Myers a pretty good player as well, as Dan will attest to. How does your game change on a bigger ground? Obviously you're at home this week, so that'll be a nice, comfortable return. But how does it improve or change on a big ground?
On a bigger ground, you try and get to as many contests as you can. So try and read the plays. I try and read the play to see where the next kick's going to go.
Are you any good at reading the play, or?
I like to think I am, but most of my practice is out on our ground. So it takes a bit to get used to. I only play on usually Healesville and Woori once a year, respectively. So. So it does take a bit to get used to. So hopefully get better at it this year. So
do you feel you need to be fitter? Is there more two-way running, especially on the larger ground? And are you getting used to that?
Yeah, probably a bit, maybe a little bit fitter, but it's a more of a different game on the bigger ground. So maybe, whereas on here you can expect maybe a longer kick. On the bigger grounds, maybe it's going to be some shorter kicks and you have to man up more than maybe zone off and expect the ball coming long down the line.
And your team too, Liam, seems to be one of those that have really bought into the new competition. What do you like most about it?
I think we just like the excitement, like the new teams, new challenges. Coming into the league, coming into the new year, we didn't know where we're going to be. We're just working on our game plan, working on our club, and making sure it's the best we can be, and see where we land.
Has Bally tried to make sure, though, that you're using your home ground advantage? We talk a lot about playing on the bigger grounds, but vice versa, they also have to come play on these smaller grounds, and it's quite hard for them. Have you spoken about how you're going to utilise this to your advantage?
Not a lot, actually, over the last 3 weeks, but I think we've always seemed to play our ground pretty well, and we plan on trying to make it like a fortress for us. Bally's called it the jungle.
Good name.
Yeah, and try and win as many games here as we can. So when we come up against the harder ovals, we can. You'll
be able to adapt. Yeah. You'll be able to adapt. And then one thing, Dan, you mentioned they're the Tigers. Wiriallic are the Tigers. Cranbourne are the Eagles. Beaconsfield are the Eagles. I'd like to see some teams get creative. There's too many similar names, and eventually it's too hard. Beaconsfield and Cranbourne, one of them needs to change. I'd like to see Upwey and Wiri, one of them change and go somewhere else. I'm not sure. Pakenham are the Lions, so maybe the Panthers or something like that, if they want to keep the jungle theme.
Well, you're right. I mean, there is maybe a lack of imagination.
There should be a rule.
I agree.
And there's no excuses because both those clubs aren't too merging. They're already... Upwey and Wiri were already together, and Cranbourne and Beaconsfield were already together. So it wasn't like, we came and we both were the Eagles. I'm getting sick of it. Riding.
Look,
you can't say the Eagles are looking forward to the clash with the Eagles.
So what do you say?
You feel like you're Dennis Cometti on the AFL Live 2004 when he used to go, "I'm tipping the Dockers," and Dermot Brereton would go, "I'm tipping Fremantle."
That's right.
So I'd like to see one of those. Worry and Upwey need to have a conversation, or maybe when they play each other, the winner gets the right. So Cranbourne at the moment get the right to be the Eagles
because of the home side.
Well, they've already defeated Beaconsfield this season.
Yeah, I probably agree with that. I remember years and years ago, back in '89, Liam, and you weren't even a twinkle in in a part of your old man's body. But Portland and North Gambier were in the competition that I was involved in there, which was the Western Border, and Portland were the Victorian Tigers and North Gambier were the South Australian Tigers. So maybe could we have Cranbourne from the old, well then you've got Cranbourne and Beaconsfield both from the old Sentinel Eagles. No, don't forget about it. Liam, thanks so much for joining us. Good luck this weekend as your Tigers. You've absolutely confused me. Good on you. I'm always confused. The coach will tell you that. Great to have the coach with us again tonight as well, looking after us. And good luck this weekend. Let's hope it's a good game of footy. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
We'll be back with more shortly. I'm confused, very confused as usual. I just need to regain my composure, and we'll be back with more from the Outer East Footy Show at Upwey Tacoma. Welcome back to the Outer East Footy Show. We get ready for another big round of footy as the matches in Premier Division and First Division resume after the interleague break last week. There was a round of matches in Division 2. We'll get to them shortly. We are at the Upwey Tacoma Football Club. And for those that have just joined us, we've been talking about nicknames. There are a number of teams in this competition that are called the Tigers, that are called the Eagles. There's a couple of names I've just found out which are absolutely sensational. I'm saying off the chart and a bit like me out there somewhere, maybe clubs. And what do you think? You might have an idea for a different name for Wirra Yallock, a different name for Upwey. Now, of course, they were in different competitions. One was in the Yarra Valley, one was in the Mountain District. They tossed for the nickname, and then they tossed for the colours, and they tossed for the song. Upwey Tacoma ended up with the song, but Wirra Yallock ended up with the jumper, correct. And they both, of course, Matt, got the same nickname, didn't they?
Well, they did, and that's what we're talking about, Dan. We want to see Upwey and Wirra change. One of them needs to, give in and change to something else. And the same with the Eagles. There's 3 if you count Yarra Junction in Division 2. So we've got a lot. We want to see more River Pigs of Yarra Glen. We want to see more Shinboners of Thornton Eildon. We want to see a bit more of that.
You've just told me about the River Pigs. Absolutely fantastic. What about the Butchers Papers? There was a rugby league team up in New South Wales, and they actually wear the same colours as the old Butchers used to wear when they had their aprons on back in the 60s and 70s. Absolutely sensational name, I reckon.
Well, was the Abattoir their home ground?
I think it might have been, Matt.
There you go. I'd like to see that. I don't know who would be the Butchers, but I don't know. You'll have to ask Jackson. I guess what Upwey's Butchers are like.
What are Upwey's Butchers like, Jackson?
I think we had them about 5 years ago, a butcher in Upwey, but no longer. Just got the deli in the local food works.
We'll have to be the Upwey Deliman.
Yeah, that's right.
Upwey Deliman I like. Now, Jackson, do you think you should change your name from the Tigers, or are you used to it now? Even though, of course, your jumper is yellow and black, but it's the Hawthorn design, isn't it?
Look, me personally, I love the Tigers. Richmond supporter. Play cricket at Richmond. Football here for a Tiger. All Tigers in my life, so happy to stay.
So are you in the ones at Richmond?
A little bit, have been, yeah. Here and there.
You had a reasonable year, didn't you? The great James Higgs is still there, isn't he, at Richmond?
He certainly is a great man, the old vice president down there.
This is some ripping cricket chat on the GameFace Footy Show, Dan.
Oh well, I'm learning all about our guests, Matt. I mean, you're of course. Have you played against Jackson in your time at Ringwood?
I have.
Is he a good player?
I may have hit him in the head. I'm not sure.
He has hit you in the head.
Certainly has. Made 2 off 54 that day, so it was riveting cricket for me.
Oh, my young bloke, if I can just tell a very quick story, if Coach doesn't mind me diverting, he actually made 11 off 74. That's a good effort from a young bloke, isn't it?
That's a great effort. I love that.
How young's a young bloke?
He's 13.
No, that's all right then.
Yeah, he was delighted. I mean, my brother said to him, "You will bore them to death." He said, "Yeah, but Dad was happy." He said, "Yeah, Dad's always happy because Dad couldn't hit them off the square and I couldn't." But 2 off 54, you did your job. But let's concentrate on the footy. How much you're enjoying your footy this year, the new competition?
Yeah, I'm absolutely loving it. Good challenge each week. It's good to see the new sides coming in, what they've got to offer. Me personally, I was on the wing last year, moved back, so it's been a good change to sort of work as a defensive unit back there and see how that all works.
How much have you had to change your game going from being a wingman to being a defender?
Oh, look, a fair bit. I was a pretty attacking player when I was on the wing. Loved to kick a goal, but now that I'm back, I sort of have to stick tight. So it's good.
What was it? We're just seeing a few downhill skier signs here from the one person in the audience. What was the reason behind the change from the wing to back pocket? Because wingmen are usually someone that might, like you said, work their way forward. It's a pretty hard task to turn yourself into an offensive-oriented player.
Look, I think they saw me as a good one-on-one player, so they thought I might be able to transition back there and with all right ball.
How are you going so far?
Actually pretty good. It's because we're on these smaller grounds, it's a bit of a team defence, so you got the third man up coming in every now and then, helping you out, chopping you out. So I think I've been all right so far. Well, I hope so.
How did you find the bigger ground when you played against Narry?
Oh, look, a lot more one-on-one contests, a lot of space to move, so sort of got to be tight on your man, giving a few body checks just to keep them on their back foot. Yeah.
And this is a crucial game this week against Beaconsfield. You could be battling for a spot in the top 5 with them, and they've had a pretty tough draw playing the 3 teams in the Sefnol who they couldn't beat last year and obviously seem to be struggling to beat again this year. So this is a massive game for them to keep their finals chances alive. So dare I say it, even early in the season, Jackson, is this an 8-point game?
The way you build up there, I think it probably is. I think it probably is now. It's going to be a big game, so pretty excited to get out there after the 3 weeks off and give that a crack.
Do you think it is, Matt?
Maybe not for Upway in particular, but to an extent it is because they need to make the most of their home ground advantage. And I'm also excited. I won't be here. We'll talk about the game. I'll be out a bit later, but it'll be exciting to see the crowds combine, and Beaconsfield have a fairly big following. They're a well-run club, and so are Upway. And there's not that much room around here, so the atmosphere could be amazing here at Upway on the weekend. It'll be an exciting game, and if Upway can get the win there, it'll be a crossover victory and one they probably hadn't bargained for, and an extra win, if you will.
If I could just say, I mean, the facilities of the clubs in the Sefnol and also in the old Yarra Valley Mountain District League are absolutely sensational. I mean, this would be a lovely place to be on a cold evening with that gas heater going, which I keep going on about. It's a wonderful bar. Must be a terrific atmosphere to come in after a game, win, lose or draw, especially winning, and being in nice comfort here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, after a game, you've got the women's footy on as well, so yeah, it's all packed out in here, and it's a great atmosphere out on the balcony watching the game with the heater on. So yeah, it's really good. The bar's from the old room, so that's a nice touch to bring up here.
Before we look at this week's games, and there are some massive games, as Matt said, the ladder, Narry Warren on top on 16, big percentage, and then Berwick on 16, Warriallic on 16, having a good start to the season. Cranbourne on 12 and Upway Tacoma making up the top 5 on 12, having had to bye but having not played for 3 weeks. And then Beaconsfield have been better than their form line of 1 win and 3 losses indicates, with an outstanding percentage of 132.11. Alinda Ferny Creek on 4, Wandon on 4 and Hillsville on the bottom. As we look, boys, now at the games. And, what's your tip? I mean, I won't ask Jackson for his tip. He thinks Upway will win. It is a massive game for Beaconsfield. They've got to start winning matches. They've been close a few times.
Yeah, it's to the point now where you're probably thinking, we don't want another sort of honourable loss. They have had a tough run. I think they've played 3 of the top 4, and then their win came against the side Wandon, who are usually pretty good. But I'm going to go Upway. I think so far we've seen the home ground advantage is massive. Only Monbulk across the 3 divisions the top 2 divisions has won a crossover game, as they're called. We probably should stop calling them that now that we're all one league. But I'm pretty sure off the top of my head, Narry Warren and Monbulk are the only 2 teams to win away from home in those sort of fixtures, and obviously Hillsville are quite weak at the moment, getting players back from injuries. So I'm going to go with Upway.
And for the last time, I'll mention that they're 2 separate leagues because Wandon were the premiers in the Yarra Valley Mountain District last year. Narry Warren made the grand final in the Sefnol. Just couldn't beat Berwick in the back end of the season after dominating the home and away. And they'll host that game, Jackson. Wandon have struggled a bit on the big grounds. You expect Narry to win?
Was that Wandon hosting or Narry?
Narry hosting.
Oh, with Narry hosting, yeah. I think their ball movement will be far too quick. Wandon on the smaller grounds, big bodies might do it, but yeah, out at Narry, I think they'll win.
What do you think, man?
Similar thoughts. As Jackson said, they're the big grounds. Narry Warren isn't the biggest ground in the southeast, but it's definitely bigger than Wandon, which is a very, very, very small sort of postage stamp sort of operation. But Wandon will have to learn. It's 3 games in a row now on the bigger grounds. They've had a week off. Nick Adam will have definitely looked at it, but I think it's more about the players being willing to run both ways and work as a unit, as Jackson will probably attest to, having played on a bigger ground. It's not talent-wise. I think it's just work rate, but Narre Warren will have them.
Berwick and Woori-Yallock, second against third. Again, Berwick at home, always very hard to beat. They're good at closing teams down as well, as we saw last year, although we know Reece Nesbitt has sort of changed their style a bit to Stuart Carpenan, who's plying his trade with Doncaster in the Eastern League. And again, we wish him all the best after winning back-to-back flags at Berwick. Who do you like there, Jackson, in that game with Berwick hosting?
I like Woori-Yallock with their ball movement, their short chips around, sort of working it out of defence, but I do think Berwick are too strong in that one.
Yeah, I think Berwick.
I'm sort of a bit... I think Berwick as well, but I think Woori-Yallock will go close. I think they've got the right attitude, as Upwey have shown as well, in approaching it, and they'll probably have now had the benefit of watching a few other teams go there, and if they've got enough time, we know people are time poor, using the resources that are provided to them to actually watch those games and see where other sides have gone wrong, and Jack Cole's a very, very experienced coach, so I wouldn't be surprised if Woori-Yallock do test them, but Berwick have got some pretty good players.
Is that your match of the day?
Well, it is in Premier Division. Yes, it is my match of the round there. Madison Andrews probably won't play, though. He missed the interleague with a suspected, I think it was either fractured hand or leg, one of the two.
Well, he's one of the key players. He won the last BNF and the Sefnal last year, and he's such an important member of that side. But they've still got a lot of big bodies, haven't they?
Oh, they have, and it'd just be interesting. Woori-Yallock have got a lot of very good players, and if they can gel together as a team, they could cause an upset, but I'm going to go with Berwick.
Hillsville are at home. They play Cranbourne. They haven't won a game yet, Hillsville. Will it help being at home against Cranbourne?
I think it will help being at home, but I do think Cranbourne are just too strong.
Yeah, I think so. They're going pretty well, Cranbourne.
Yeah, Cranbourne will win, but they'll be smarting, and that's probably dangerous for Hillsville. They had 9 blokes in the interleague squad that were taught a lesson on the weekend, and their coach was an assistant coach there. So there's going to be 10 people coming back from Bendigo with their tail between their legs. And Hillsville's a big ground, so unfortunately they don't have that real big advantage of being at home with these new clubs. But they're improving every week. They're actually the highest scorers against Narre Warren from the old Yarra Rangers club so far. So Cranbourne to win, but Hillsville getting better every week.
Well, we look forward to seeing how that game goes, and we look forward to seeing how the Premier Division goes. Jackson, good luck in your football for the rest of the season and your cricket as well. I know it's still a fair way off yet and probably not even on your radar, but it's on my radar, and I'd love to talk to you again about the cricket. And you too, Matt, as the season gets a bit closer, which I'm sure we will on GameFace. Thanks for having us at Upwey Tacoma, and good luck. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.